Hello, welcome. Hey, Mitchell here again. Today, I'm getting, boy, I've been looking at so many things that are going on. Of course, uh, there's uh, chaos happening, um, but I keep getting this sense of being the eye of the storm, and being the eye of the storm doesn't necessarily being not feeling. Okay, so when you're the eye of the storm, maybe what you're actually experiencing is more clarity. So uh, you don't need to go into the outrage. That to me might be in the storm. And outrage is that one place where you get sucked into that media vortex. Um, of just hearing opinion after opinion over uh, what happened and what he said recently. And, can you believe? Well, pull back from that. Um, one of the techniques that I use regularly with my patients, my clients, is the tapping into our being an animal, really using the sense of being a physical being that is from the earth, which is from the sun, which is from the galaxy, which is from the universe. And so, wow, we tap into our animal nature. We tap into the source of all that we consider the physical world, the physical galaxy, the physical makeup of all that is, which um, is nothing actually but an experience. Once you really dive deep into being this physicality, then that too dissolves. Okay? So I mentioned and I talked about transmuting, transforming energies in a couple of my videos. And I'm going to go back to that. Some of the energies, the big ones that we are transforming right now, is this. Uh, uh, well, actually, for all of us in the spiritual community, it's being vulnerable, kind of being okay to be vulnerable, and that's that's deeply rooted in us. But it's been by written about by thousands of sages for thousands of years. You know, in the Tao Te Ching, they talk about soft overcomes hard. You know, the ability of wind to erode rock, water. You know, cutting channels in the earth. Um, the soft overcoming the hard, the grass that stands back up after the flood, whereas the tree was knocked to splinters. Um, all these things. So be vulnerable. Be okay to be vulnerable, but not just okay, but really, really feel it and feel it from a deep place of observing. Okay, we don't want to be thinking about it, we want to be observing what this vulnerability is and feeling it in a way that is from our animal nature. Our animal nature is feeling, it's instinctual, it's grounded in beingness, grounded in earth, grounded in the, the, the galaxy, the universe. Okay. Um, because another thing that that's occurring, other people have talked about it, other channels have discussed going into the fifth dimension, and there's more information about that elsewhere. But we're going into the unknown. Okay. For most of us, we see this physical reality. We have been brought up and conditioned in a world that says that this body represents me. It has a name, it has a thought pattern, it has a history, it has a family and a genealogy. Um, and we're going into unknown where this really core sense of separateness is beginning to dissolve. And so this sense of I as this body, me, is also beginning to weaken. And as we go into the unknown and as we really, really feel that, we feel, even though we're extremely vulnerable, we feel safer because we experience that this isn't the one standing out in contrast to all others. This and all others are not so different. That we're supporting each other, even though it doesn't look like it in a lot of cases, okay? And so I've got a couple notes here because they just come to me. And I jot them down on papers all over the place. But as far as coming into the animal, we need to become more conscious of it, which is bringing our thought away from the mind and more into the body more often. I always teach the basic breath. And the reason I am so adamant about the basic breath is because it takes you back into who you are as a physical animal being. When we breathe properly, we are tuning up the machine so that it's working, it's running better, and the animal piece of us calms down. The brain, the mind, its job is to make sure the body is safe. When the body is sending I am safe signals to the brain, then the brain itself can calm down. So the basic breath, as you may, if you've watched my other videos, is always only in and out through the nose, tongue to the roof of the mouth. Exhale is twice as long as the inhale. And in my other videos, I go into what this stimulates, why it is so important, and the ripple effects that it has throughout your entire system and thus consciousness. So anyway, I'm going to go back to this other list of what we can do to transform, transmute what's happening. I've talked a little bit about where we are on a micro macro. We're seeing ego on the national scale as portrayed by certain, they're calling him Felon 45, the orange guy, whatever, that represents, rather than just at one point, represents, you can see with all the things that are around it, and the people and the personalities that are around that, how it is becoming a very condensed ego. Just the inauguration the other day where he had the three wealthiest people in the world, or at least in our country, standing right behind him. Those three wealthiest people own more wealth than the bottom 51% of all of the population. And so how else is that not ego standing up very, 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 very defiantly in the face of everything else? Because we know collectively that's not what we want. We don't want to have all of this wealth that we've struggled for to be only held by 3, 4 people, right? And that's another piece that we, using our animal nature to transmute, can go into, and that's this long-term sense of scarcity. And the sense of scarcity is something that belief in scarcity might be the better way to say it. It's nothing more than a belief because we are uh, a construct of beliefs. So when we give this belief that certain people can have more and certain people can have less, that just continually uh, builds on that. Bring that in. Bring that sense of scarcity, whatever it feels like for you. And maybe you have different perspectives on what scarcity is or different beliefs. Bring that in. If there's fear around it, if there's frustration around it, if there's anxiety around anything that has to do with scarcity, bring that in, breathe into it, feel it deeply here in the animal part of you, right? In the place that watches, that observes, not from the analytical perspective. Okay, so all of this is breathing in, feeling a feeling, a feeling that has been built on a thought structure and then never questioned, just implemented over decades, centuries, eons. And that's what this experience is about. Is part of it is about being separate, being limited from one moment to the next, because time is a construct unique to this experience of physicality. And so that moment to moment to moment is a restriction. Time helps to perpetuate this sense of limitation. So feel the scarcity, be in it, and feel maybe what comes up. And this may not come up immediately for you, is, wow, I'm an unlimited being. I really am an unlimited being. I'm less attached to this physical piece than I am to this awakening piece, the one that was in the unknown that we talked about in the beginning. And part of what's happening that's supporting all this is the awakening of the feminine. And you hear that across the intuitive world too. And so the intuitive piece is becoming prominent. Listen to it. And maybe listen to, what does that bring up? Is there a fear that I'll be rejected if I say that I believe in my intuition? The woo-woo arts, however you want to put it, right? That's another piece that's being broken down at this time. Because truly, honestly, the energetic being that we are is wanting to be heard. And the physical being that says that it's just this body, these senses, and these ideas and thoughts is what makes up an individual. And we can see how that these paths are diverting. And we've heard about the splitting timelines and things like that. Well, that piece that's physical, that's anchored, and that's heavy is, it's going, it's moving on. The piece that is lighter, that is intuitive, that is open, and that is expressive and that is more open to the infinite nature of reality. That's where we're headed, okay? And that's where we are continuing to go. Anybody on the spiritual path is on this timeline, waking up to the lightness of your beingness and letting go of the heaviness. All these things that I discussed, had that heavy component, the idea of scarcity, the idea of ego, the idea of physicality, um, the idea of unknown, even. If there is an unknown, then I have to prepare for it. And that unknown is back to time. In this, my friend Libby on Magistrate, her guides were saying, the skin suit, get the skin suit out of the way. Yes, the skin suit is subject to these breakdowns in time, which put up what this skin suit views as a blackness that is the future. And the future is always never not been, okay? It's always been there, always will be, and we're not stepping into the unknown. As you grow more and more into your energetic self, you just sense the pull of the light rather than the will there be enough food tomorrow? Will these measures that the politicians are putting in place come to bear and then put more limitations on my freedoms? That's this part that's falling away, that's going into that heavier density. Go into the lightness, the levity, not just brightness, but lightness, the levity, the opening up. Okay. So yeah, that's all I really have today. Come inside, come in here, feel, know that, and it's going to feel, you got to be in your vulnerability. You've got to know that even as you feel some of these things that the mind and time and limitation has told you are dangerous, when you come in here and truly, truly, truly feel it, we've processed it. We've allowed it to become part of the collective understanding, and we can move on. Okay? That's what's happening. It's all wanting to be processed. And so the little me that is afraid for this one body is going to push away against processing that. The greater self that is all energy says, hey, we put this play, this movie into place about these hard physical limitations. Let's take that knowledge, let's take that wisdom of what the opportunities and the dangers of that is and let's just put that into the collective knowledge, into the collective wisdom. Once it's there, you'll feel the freedom, right? And so a lot of us are going through phases right now where it feels like we're just doing deep dives into dark energy. It's our deeper intuitive spiritual wisdom saying, I'm pulling this knowledge, this wisdom, that this age that we are now finishing up, we're pulling that in and moving on into more levity, into more lightness, into the bright, into the fifth dimension. Okay? So I love you guys. and I love it all, really. You know, it's kind of just like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens next. And when I do feel the heaviness, the oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling this heavy. But I'm trying to, not portray that this is, I'm excited and giddy about feeling the nastiness, the sewage that we have passed through. But it is. You begin to feel it and know that as you feel it, you are supported. I'm bringing it in, and all of spirit is going like this. And all of a sudden, I'm pulled away from the darkness of having to bring that piece in for transformation, and back into the lightness of who I really am. And it goes through phases, right? I feel it coming on. I feel that darkness, the weight. And, sometimes it is very, very unsettling. But it's happened time and time again. And as I transmute, I know that this is coming in, and the conditioning is now within me that says, hey, guess what? As I eat, as I take my vitamin, uh, it may taste unpleasant, but the health benefits are going to uh, blossom forth from it. I don't know. I'm getting a little kooky with my metaphors, so excuse me. Uh, take the nut of what I've said. Please allow the transformation to happen. Come into the animal nature. Use your basic breath. Thank you so much. Bye bye. I love you.